All right, good evening, everybody. This is Jim Howard with Trinity Security Allies. We're going to get started in 2 minutes. We're allowing people to log on. So get yourself a seat, get comfortable. We're going to get started here in a few minutes. Got a little bit of a surprise for you, but we're going to start in 2 minutes. All right, we're going to get started in a minute, letting people log on. All right, so we're going to get started here in about 30 seconds. We're going to be talking about the Equality Act versus the church. All right, good evening, everybody. This is Jim Howard with Trinity Security Allies. Welcome tonight. I'm glad that you're out here. Tonight, we've got a topic that is very important. It's something that's going on around the country, and we've seen some issues already pop up. If you've been following us for some time, we used to do a Sunday night Facebook Live. And we kind of got away from that because I work with a guy by the name of Kevin Haggerty, who we do a true Christian talk where we talk about issues that are facing the world today, where we see things that could be facing the church, but we really kind of dwell into or jump into the actual politics of it. I've tried to stay away from that on these webinars that we do right here. I've really worked real hard of keeping away from it, but I felt like this is one that we needed to start talking to because I'm really concerned about what we're seeing and kind of the effects that it is having on some of the churches already and things we probably need to be preparing for. We're going to be covering a lot of this, but before we get started with that, I don't know if you noticed, I have a new name down here. Wendy is still helping us out, but she's kind of pulled away because she's got a lot of other things. So I have Jessica, which most of you know. She is now helping me with the Thursday night webinars, and she's going to be doing something new. We're going to be doing something to where she's doing my Google alerts. She's taking a look at all the stuff that's going on out here. And so she's going to be giving us kind of an intelligence report of things that we need to be paying attention to. Now, not only is she going to be doing that, but when we send out the email that we do with all those that join us, she's going to be putting links to everything that we talk about tonight. So I'm going to let her take over. She's going to come on and she's going to talk about things churches need to be paying attention to. So Jessica, go ahead.
So in doing the Google alerts, I noticed that there was a lot of current trends going on. And one of those was threats against churches due to COVID protocols. As states are opening up and regulations are being lifted, a lot of churches are opening up. Some churches have already been open and they have protocol in place. But one of the things that we're seeing is pastors are getting emailed threats, or threats are being posted on Facebook or on Google reviews. So we just wanted to kind of remind you to keep a lookout for what people are saying about your church on Facebook or online. And if there are any threats sent to your pastor or anybody in your church, to report them to law enforcement. Don't overlook anything and just keep an ear out for what is being said about your church. So the second thing that we wanted to talk about is weekdays. We talk a lot about safety teams during church services on Sunday mornings or Saturday nights. But we also need to remember that there's a lot of stuff going on in churches on the weekdays as well. So due to COVID, there's an increase in homelessness and unemployment. And one of the things that we've been seeing a lot of is an increase in church vandalism and theft occurring in churches. But not only is there that, but there's also homeless people trying to find places to sleep inside your church. There was a case where a man was arrested after shattering the glass parts of the doors in a church and breaking in and sleeping in the stairwell. And we're also finding fights going on inside of churches. There was just an article about a church in Illinois, and we haven't gotten much detail about it yet, but a fight broke out inside of the church on a Friday afternoon, and somebody was injured and stabbed. So that's just something to look out for, that there are people that are going to be on your premises that are looking for either a place to stay, or another thing that we're finding is people overdosing in churches. There's been at least 2 reports of people found deceased inside of a church after overdosing in the bathrooms or in the stairwells. And we're also finding at least 2 incidences of where people have actually dropped off bodies in churches because they don't know what to do with them. So it's just a reminder to be watchful of what's going on inside your church during the weekdays too. If you have events that are going on, be aware of those. Maybe have a safety team member on campus, or just lock your doors, put up new cameras, just make sure that your perimeter is safe over the weekdays as well. And a last note, it's not on the screen, but I did see something today actually. And if your church is considering being a vaccination distribution center, a lot of churches are stepping up and volunteering, which is great, but also remember that you're going to be seeing a lot of new people come to your church for the first time. Some of those people might be homeless or in different financial situations. So you just want to be really aware of your perimeter safety in your church and who's coming to your church over the weekdays as well.
All right, Jessica, thank you very much. So let's get into tonight's topic. One of the things that we have spoken about before is just some of the laws that we've seen that are being changed out here that we need to be paying attention to. And this is one of them right here. It's called the Equality Act. And what the Equality Act is, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 made sure that all African Americans had equal access to public accommodations and material goods. This is an expansion to include LGBTQ. Now, when we look at it and we start to read it, it looks like it's going to penalize everyday Americans for their beliefs about marriage and biological sex. So the summary of the bill says that it prohibits discrimination based on sex, sexual orientation, and gender identity in areas including public accommodations and facilities, education, federal funding, employment, housing, credit, and the jury system. Specifically, the bill denies and includes sex, sexual orientation, and gender identity among the prohibited categories of discrimination or segregation. The bill expands the definition of public accommodations to include places or establishments that provide exhibitions, recreations, exercise, amusement, gatherings, or display, goods, services, or programs, and transportation services. Now, the bill allows the Department of Justice to intervene in equal protection actions in federal court on account of sexual orientation or gender identity. The bill prohibits an individual from being denied access. Now, listen to this very carefully. Denying access to a shared facility, including a restroom, a locker room, and a dressing room that is in accordance with the individual's gender identity. So what does that mean to the church? What does that mean to the church? In our 2020 conference, Patrick Leduc, who was with the Alliance Defending Freedom and Liberty Council, spoke about what would happen if a man walked into your church and claimed that he was a female and wanted to use the female bathroom. What rights would you have to stand on to say, no, you can't do that? Because let me just say this. I know at our church, if a guy walked into our female's bathroom, there would be chaos. I can tell you that right now. And I really don't know of a lot of churches that would not happen. I can tell you that I would not want my 14-year-old daughter to be in a bathroom and have some guy come into the bathroom because he claims that he is a female. So when Patrick was talking about this, he said, one of the things you need to make sure you understand, first off, your private property, okay? And you should have something in your bylaws or something in there that says that the bathrooms are made for what is on your birth certificate or what is your physical sex. I mean, just make it as clear as you need to make people understand that we believe our biblical basing is that when you're born a male, you're a male, and when you're born a female, you're a female. And so this is what we need to do as a church. But the Equality Act is going to challenge us. It's going to be affecting us in multiple ways, not only in the church, but also in other areas. The Heritage Foundation did an article. It was called the Equality Act. And they talked about 5 things that could affect the churches and businesses. And it said the Equality Act would force employers and workers to conform to new sexual norms or else lose their business and jobs. Your religious beliefs could be challenged. We saw this with the Colorado Baker and Hobby Lobby, where both of these had to go to court to fight for their religious beliefs. So get ready, because if this law passes, because it went through the Senate, the House, and it's supposed to go to the Senate, but cases won might be seen differently, completely differently under the Equality Act. Now, even here recently, and see, what we have to worry about also is the social norm. You know, not just what is law, but if, let's say that church, they come out and they say, listen, this doesn't affect churches. The problem that we have to worry about is that it might not law affect churches, but what is the social norm going to be? What is the cancel culture going to be looking at when things like this happen? So there's already a case where a high school French teacher was dismissed under the school's anti-discrimination policy after he refused to comply with the administrator's order to use a female student's preferred masculine pronouns. In other words, he wouldn't call her a him. He said that he was more than willing to call her by her name, but refused to call her a him. And so he was let go. So see, that's kind of like a little bit of the tip of the iceberg that we're seeing, that we have to, it's going to start happening here. And we have to start paying attention, because there's a slippery slope right now. And we're going to get into where a Christian organization, what they call pivoted, and did something that really is a very big concern of mine. Now, it's also talking about the medical professionals will be affected by this, because the Equality Act would force hospitals and insurers to provide and pay for those therapies against any moral or medical objection. It would politicize medicine by forcing professionals to act against their best medical judgment and provide transition affirming therapies. In other words, what they're saying, hospitals who have been sued before because they would not perform hysterectomies on healthy women who wanted to become men will now be forced to do this. This is scary. Parents and children, the Equality Act would put parental rights would get rid of parental rights, really, to make the decision about their children's medical treatment and education at risk. Because what they're saying is that when a child goes through puberty, and there's a lot of different confused things going on, they're not really for sure what's going on. Activists are pushing their own radical protocol that would social transition would be taught as young as 4 years old. Puberty blocking drugs as young as 9 years old, and cross-sex hormones as young as 14, and surgery by 18, or in some cases, even younger. In fact, parents lost the custody of their child because the child wanted to have a sex change operation, and the parent said no, and the state stepped in and said, we're going to give this child this operation. Is it scaring you just a little bit right yet? I mean, or do we need to continue on? Now, here's another one that they're looking at. With women, the Equality Act would ultimately lead to the erasure of women by dismantling sex-specific facilities, sports, and other female-only spaces. When we first saw this, we were online on True Christian Talk, and I contacted a friend of mine who is a basketball coach. He's a female basketball coach. And so I asked him, I said, listen, what would happen if all of a sudden you had a male show up claiming to be a female and wanted to play basketball on your team? And he said, I would have two choices. He said either I would resign or I would let this person play. So sexual orientation and gender identity laws that open up sex-specific facilities like bathrooms, locker rooms, to members of the opposite sex. Now, this is a little scary. Like I said, we've already had cases where guys who have claimed to be females have sexually assaulted women in bathrooms because states are allowing them to go and use those bathrooms. It would also allow males to overpower girls in athletics. We've seen several cases where men who are now claiming to be women have started to compete in women's athletics or women's sports and just beating them really bad because women fought for so long to get their freedom in the sports, to have their own sports. And now we're going to turn it over and say that gender, because I claim to be a female now, I can participate in female sports. It's going to allow males to enter girls' locker rooms and women's shelters. Women's shelters. Think about this just for a second. As a law enforcement officer, when we had the shelters for battered women, we didn't even know where the locations were. They kept those from us. But now you're going to open it up, and there's already been lawsuits in reference to it. So this is a scary thing that's facing us right now. And one of the other things that they're talking about is that it would close the doors of faith-based foster and adoption agencies. Now, unfortunately, we've already seen this happen. Albert Mohler did an article called Pivoting to Surrender, a warning for all Christians. Bethany Christian Services, which have been one of the nation's largest evangelical agencies involved in adoption and foster care, would place children only in qualified Christian homes. They believed that a child deserved a loving home environment marked by the biblical marriage of the union between one man and one woman. But Bethany now, who once only allowed adoption and foster care to what we call as Christians, has made a decision to allow same-sex households and those identifying with LGBTQ to adopt children. Now, this wasn't done under a threat of losing their license. This was done under social pressure. So before we even get into the battle, we're seeing churches starting to fold under social pressure. We saw another one here in St. Pete that started to teach critical race theory, and we didn't understand why, because it really wasn't anything that was coming down from the organizations, the church organization, but they just decided upon themselves that this is the way that they wanted to proceed. And I'm going to tell you right now, critical race theory is not biblically based. So to me, it is a sin. And what we're looking at right here of facing church or forcing churches or charitable organizations or religious organizations to change because the government is telling us to do that is something that is going to be a battle. Is your church ready? Is your church going to do something? Or are you going to do like Bethany here did and just fold before it even started? This is just really sad. Albert Mohler went on to say the attempt to redefine what it means to be a parent, a mother and a father, and a family is an attempt to redefine civilization. It is just ambitious. It is also happening right before our eyes. Christians' belief has always been there to take care of the elderly and the children. Christian charity work is more, when you go and look at it, is more than any other organization in the world. We do more to help out those that are widows, hungry, homeless. I mean, you go down the list, churches do more. But now churches are going to have to move away from their biblical stance on certain things. Same-sex marriage. We're going to have to start to, I mean, that's what happened right here. Bethany didn't even wait for a fight. They just kind of like threw in the towel right off the bat. They took off their webpage that they believed that marriage should be between one man and one woman. They took it off their webpage. Now they say, well, you know, we didn't really say that we agree with this. No, if you're going to allow it, you agree with this. You agree with this. It's one of these things that I am worried about the church because I'm worried what we're going to do when these things hit us. What are we going to do? Are we going to stand fast? There's organizations out here that would help you with this. It's really not one of these type of things that you need to think about that you're on your own. You're not. That's definitely not what it is. We know that there's groups out here that would be more than happy to step in. I mean, Patrick's organization would step in on something that would happen to where they would threaten to take away your rights. And so I think we need to make sure that we stand up and we stand up for our Christian beliefs. Now, what scares me more about this is this seduction that's going to happen. Because now think about this for a second. Bethany just sits here one day and starts talking about this and said, you know, we probably could put more children in homes, take them out of the foster care system, get them out of the private adoption agencies. If we just kind of relax our rules and allow same-sex marriage or same-sex families have children. Now, I'm not saying they wouldn't love them. I'm not saying they wouldn't treat them right, but that's not our Christian belief. That's not what we believe in. That's not what our church believes in. That's not what I believe in. And it's not really that I have a hard time if your church was already doing it. You know, that is something that your church believes, and I'm not going to stand here and tell you how, I mean, I know how I believe, and I'm going to stand on that. And I'm going to tell you, if you ask me whether I would do it, and I would tell you no. But when you fold in a towel without even a fight, I worry about how many other organizations, how many other churches are going to do the exact same thing. It's a seduction. Remember when Satan went to Eve and he said, did God tell you not to eat from this apple? Come on, if you eat from this, did God tell you not to eat from this tree? He just doesn't want you to have what he has. He doesn't want you to see everything, be as smart as him. All these things, it's the seduction of sin. So if I tell you that we can put more children in homes if you drop your beliefs, if you stop your morals, you let it go, you just say, hey, you know what? Hey, think of it. Think of it this way also. Your Christian schools out here, you could get more money for your schools could grow. You could have more students, all these things like this if you move away from your Christian beliefs. You know, if the state comes to you and says, if you don't do this, then we're going to take away your funding, we're going to take away your business or things like that, which we have seen, then I can see the fight. And I'll be there with you. I'll be there supporting you. But when we just fold because of social pressure, think if our disciples would have folded because of social pressure, where would we be today? Think of if Christ would have folded because of social pressure. Remember, they didn't like him because he was changing. He was preaching the biblical truths. He was teaching exactly what was in the Old Testament, and he came there to help us out with more. Look, we have to love everybody. I'm not going to get into, I mean, that's a give me. That's an easy one right there. But I think we have to stand for our moral values, because if we don't, I'm afraid we will be a country that slides into an area that will not be pretty. But I'm telling you right now, get prepared, because we will see this. And here's where we're going to break it off into the safety teams. Just like Jessica said, if you start to see things on your social media that could be because You state on your church beliefs that you believe that marriage is between a man and a woman, the biblical stance of it. And all of a sudden you start seeing people complain about it. Be prepared with the safety team. There's probably going to be people there that want to disrupt your church. If you start talking about that you're pro-life, and especially this right here, what they're talking about, this Equality Act also, it is going to take away some of the oppositions or some of the protection that we have as far as abortions go. It's going to get into that also. So if you make a stance that you're pro-life, you could have somebody just disrupt your church real easy. The reason why we started this ministry, because I was praying about it. I had a good job. I was really happy where I was as far as work went. But we knew that we felt God was calling us to go this way. And the reason why we started Trinity Security Allies is because a friend of mine contacted me, a church that we had worked with, a church that Jessica used to love to go to on their Wednesday nights. The pastor there contacted me and said, we were preaching on being pro-life, not pro-choice. We were a church of pro-life. And a guy got upset and walked out of the church screaming and yelling about our decision to make that stance. It's going to be coming. It's going to be happening. So we have to be careful and be paying attention to those around us, the social justice people that are going to come in and try to change what we believe. Because see, if they can't change us, we can still win. And we're going to continue to fight. We know we will win because nobody can defeat Christ. Nobody can. But we have to make sure that we're standing on the right side of Christ and not the wrong side. Paul states it. He wrote it out. He said this to Timothy. He said, but mark this, there will be terrible times in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without control, brutal, not lovers of the good, treacherous, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying its power. Have nothing to do with these people. In fact, everyone who wants to live a godly life in Christ, Jesus will be persecuted. While evildoers and impostors will go from bad to worse, deceiving and being deceived, but as for you, continue in what you have learned and have become convinced of, because you know those from whom you've learned it, and how from infancy you have known the Holy Scriptures, which are able to make you wise for the salvation through the faith in Jesus Christ. All Scripture is God-breathed and is useful in teaching, rebuking, correcting, training in righteousness, so that the servant of God may be thoroughly equipped for every good work. We got to get ready for this. We got to get prepared. It is coming. And we just have to make sure that we stand tall and stand with Christ and let him lead the battle. So, Jessica, are there any questions, any comments?
No questions or comments that I'm seeing.
Well, let's open it up. Let's open it up for y'all right now. If you got anything you want to ask, like I said, we'll be putting a lot of this stuff in our notes when we send out the email. So if you have any questions about this, please get in touch with me. If your church is having an issue with this, please let me know so that we can talk with your leaders, your safety team members, and make sure that everybody's covered when these things happen. Because if not, we're going to get ready to close down. So I'm going to go back to sharing the screen. All right. If you got any questions, please ask them on the Q&A. Oh, gosh. When is our next Zoom for members only? This is the incorrect calendar here. I'll look at my calendar real quick. It is the third Thursday of every month. So it will be March the 18th, not February the 18th. because that would be the third Thursday of March.
March 18th is correct. Yes.
Yes, not February. All right. That's our members only. That's what's coming up. The paperbacks are going to be here this weekend. So before this book is outlawed or canceled by cancel culture, because truly this is what we're looking at. Y'all need to get your order in so we can get you a book. $25 donation will send you the paperback. We still have a few hardcovers left. So a donation of $30 will send you one. We'll send it in the mail, send it right to you. I'll sign it and have it come your way. Go out and get our free resources. We have noticed that some people have jumped out there and got these, and this is really great because we're looking at maybe doing some more. Wendy's working on that in the background. And so we're really excited about maybe putting another one out there. We're trying to figure out which one it may be. For Scott Lake Baptist Church, if any of you guys are on, I'm thinking of doing a what if thing for y'all. Y'all are the what if church. Online membership program. Sign up today to access our online church safety training library for just $25. Now, Jessica, aren't we doing something here soon to where we're going to be giving a discount for this?
This weekend, a special Easter sale will be announced, so keep a lookout for that.
But you get live online training that you can access at any time and share with your team. A membership will also give you a ticket to our annual church safety and liability conference. And of course, a membership really does support the ministry. This is how we have been able to maintain what we are doing right now is through you and the support we get from the members. Also, church safety and security membership program, $125 a month or $1,200 for the year, includes two-hour training sessions or a full day training. Schedule phone consultations with us on reference to safety concerns, 5 tickets to our annual church safety and liability, discounted full strength and weakness assessment, recommendations detailing priorities in your church, and safety team has full access to online and monthly members only calls. And if your church cannot afford a membership, consider a local business owner to sponsor your church. We have a lot of churches that we have members inside the church that actually do the church membership. If you can, on Thursdays, we do True Christian Talk. That is with Kevin Haggerty. That's what we talk about. We're looking at the world through a Christian lens. We have to be ready. We have to be ready for what is coming up and what we're doing. So please come out on 11 o'clock. They are on Facebook under True Christian Talk, and soon we're going to have them out on YouTube. So I wanted to bring up one other thing before we go. April the 10th will be at Scott Lake Baptist Church. That's in Lakeland. And it will be, the first portion of it is for everybody, anybody that can come out. There will be an AM session. And so if you can, go to our website, register for it, and come on out. We'd love to see you there. Jess, anything out there?
John Jacobson just said, great info. He's got a few things to pass on to his pastors.
John, if there's anything I can do to help, please let me know on that, because like I said, I don't know if I made it clear enough. I am concerned about this. I'm very concerned about this. And we just have to make sure that we cover and make sure that we protect the churches and that we're ready for when this thing starts to happen.
A question just came in from John Jacobson. In our lobby, we have the men's room and women's room and a unisex. Is that good enough?
I think you're better prepared than most churches.
And Jim Henkel just said thank you.
Well, thank you all for coming out tonight. I'm going to let you go. I want to thank Jessica for helping us out. That is a thing that we're going to be doing more of. We're going to do it every Thursday night. We're going to let her come out and tell us what she's seeing, because she's really going through these Google alerts, and she's been contacting me and telling me about stuff that has been going on out here. And I think it's very important that we let you know what's going on out here. So this is a new feature that we're going to be adding, and we will be putting it into the newsletter that goes out. So if there's nothing else, I'm going to pray that God watches over you and protects you in this important ministry that you do, and understand that he sees it. He does see it. He lets us know every day that we're in the right spot at the right time, and it is all about you and the churches. So if there's anything you need, give us a call. God bless you, and God bless this country.